Welcome to Inspired Conversations. My name is Nkandu Beltz. I'm your host. And today I have Benjamin J. Harvey. Ben is the co-founder of Authentic Education, and he is also a difference maker mentor, and as well as a best-selling author of multiple books. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, wonderful, and it's lovely to have you here. So let's go back. How did Authentic Education start?
It started. How did it actually begin?
Where did it come from? Yeah.
That's a great question. Where did it come from? I have no idea. I think it really kicked off when myself and a gentleman by the name of Cham Tang were sitting in a hotel room in Brisbane back in early 2009, and we wanted to do something a little bit more meaningful with our lives. I'd been coaching people for a couple of years, and I said to Cham, "Hey Cham, you know what I'd like to do?" And he said, "What?" I said, "I'd like to help people that help people." And he said, "What would you like to help them do?" And I said, "I think I'd like to help them help more people." And he said, "So let me get this straight. You want to help people that help people help more people?" And I said, "Yes." And that was actually our mission statement. And so from there it just began. So really it was just two guys sitting on a couch one day having a conversation about doing more meaningful work. And because people often think that business has to be this really complex, drawn out business plan. It's got to have 18 pages and pie charts and diagrams and fancy graphs, and it's got to be full color as well. And if you don't have any of that, then you're not going to be in business. But the fact is, I think you just need an idea that you're inspired by. And we were really inspired by people that help people. You know, we just loved the fact that people can have an impact in people's lives. They can make a difference, and that difference can ripple out to their families and across the world. And so just wanting to help people that help people help more people was our starting point. And from there it just began to grow.
Yeah. So how did you move from the concept, from the idea to the actual delivering of the workshops to help more people, to help people help more people?
I think the core that you'll find at the origins of every business, if you speak to enough people, you'll find that they begin with a belief. They have a belief of some description that really does formalize into a reality. So I think for anyone who's viewing now, as a starting point, you've got to really ask what you believe in and what your core belief is that you want to then roll out further. And for me, the core belief was always that when inspired people passionately apply the right education, they can change their life in the world. And so that was our starting point. We just started with, we want to find inspired people that want to passionately apply education in their lives to change their own lives, but also change the world. And from there we thought, well, how do we do that? And what's the process behind it? And so we thought, well, the process behind it would be to teach personal development courses and business acceleration courses to people who are interested in making a difference. And so once you've got this core belief, which is the origin, the essence of any business, then you can build anything out from that. Around that, and this is important because a lot of people think you start with the product or the service, or you start with the problem you want to solve. But I think under all of that, you just want to do some reflection into what you truly believe. Because at the end of the day, your business is going to push forth something you believe in. And so to start with something you believe in is a much better starting point than what most business courses out there will say, you know, find a need and fill the need and get a solution. I think if you're really serious about making a huge impact, start with something you truly believe in. And once you work out what you truly believe in, the next thing I advise people to do is just have this scenario inside their mind where they imagine that they're walking down the street, and as they're walking down the street, they are confronted by somebody. So they're walking down the street, and so imagine you and I walking down the street. You're walking one way, I'm walking the other, and we cross paths. And as we're crossing paths, I always say to our clients that if I could only say one sentence to you, only one sentence, and words cost $20,000 a word, right? And I'm unemployed, and so I've got to really get my words nice and short. What do I most want to say to you? So if you could really picture this scenario, and for the viewers, really imagine this. We're walking down the street, you and I, and we stop, and I'm allowed to say one sentence to you only about anything. And you're only allowed to say one sentence to me about anything. And that sentence can be inspiring, informative, wise, whatever you want. And I decided that if I was going to cross paths with you, there's only really 3 words I would want to say to you.
Okay.
And those and those words really formalize the message of the business. And so what I thought, if I could only tell you one thing, I would want to say to you, live your love. Like, that's it.
Wow, that's powerful.
And so that's the key. So that became the message of our business. So we understood our core belief, which was that when inspired people passionately apply the right education, they can change their lives and also the world. Yeah. And we worked out what we wanted to tell people through our business. And what we wanted to tell people is live your love. And so once we had those 2 things in place, everything else becomes a little bit easier. So once an entrepreneur has a core belief and a message, then they just go after a process of 5 simple steps. And I think the first thing is to paint a vision. And I think we all have an understanding of what a vision is. But deep down inside every human being, we do have a future self, something that we'd like to belong to out there in the future, the way we imagine our life to be and the way we imagine the world to be. And the best way I describe a vision to someone is if you had a paintbrush and you could repaint the world in accordance with your own vision, what would it end up looking like? And what would you change? What would you keep? What would you want to improve? What would you want to fix? And so on. And so the starting point from that process is just to paint your vision. Once people have painted their vision, then they need to package up their masterpiece. They need to put something together, a series of steps that is going to solve meaningful problems for people or improve the world in some way, shape or form. And they can do that by identifying things like topics they're inspired by, things they love researching, actions that they find themselves good at, stuff they like to contemplate, or where they have a whole bunch of knowledge stored, and they can actually package that up into a way that they can go out in the marketplace and solve problems. Because at the end of the day, businesses are predominantly designed to improve the quality of people's lives. That's what they're there for. They're there to solve meaningful problems. So step 2 is really about packaging up a solution that I call a masterpiece. Once that's done, I think the next thing is to position your brand. For example, getting on a great TV program is a great way of positioning your brand, getting out in the media, having conversations, but letting people know that you exist before you actually launch is something that I find is quite valuable. See, a lot of people go in the marketplace and they start marketing and selling, but no one really knows who they are. And so it's an uphill battle. They're trying a lot harder by not actually having a presence or a brand. Once they've positioned a brand, then the next phase is to promote with marketing, to understand the ins and outs of psychology, of influence. How do you actually get someone inspired to want to do more work with you? How do you communicate that you can solve their problems? How do you speak the language that lets them know that you actually do have solutions that are meaningful for them? And once you've done all of that, then I recommend prepare for business. I actually say prepare for business is the last thing you do.
Wow.
Because there's no point preparing for business if you haven't got those first 4 steps correct. So paint your vision, package up your masterpiece, position your brand, promote with marketing, and then prepare for business. And if you do it in that order, you'll find that it does become easy to do, because if we just follow some simple steps in life, then we can replicate the results of the people who've made it before us. And they all do follow very basic steps, and most of them do those 5 things in order.
Wonderful, and this is something that you teach at the Authentic Academy.
Absolutely, yeah. So inside our organisation, we teach a lot of different courses, and a lot of them are for entrepreneurs. Specifically people who want to get their message out there, who want to speak confidently, who want to learn marketing, sales, packaging processes, a business, accounting, how do you do the numbers, but everything from end to end that allows you to actually get up and into the marketplace and start to make a difference. So with the positioning of the brand, there's really 2 ways that you can reach a marketplace, and one is called push and one is called pull. And push marketing is where I push something in front of your face and I say, hey, I exist, check me out, come and have a look at my business. And it is a fairly aggressive approach to getting known. And it is a harder approach if you haven't previously done pull marketing. Pull marketing is where I send out to the marketplace a whole bunch of rock solid content and I solve your problems in advance, something that people call RIA, which is giving someone a result in advance prior to them ever even thinking about doing business with you. So when you start to send content into a marketplace and you assist people to get results in advance, that is what we call pull marketing. And pull marketing helps to position your brand. So a general rule of thumb is do some pull marketing before you do push marketing, and you're in a much better position to grow your business.
Wonderful. So this is where people, they'll see an advertisement and then they come to your link and they find some really good nuggets there. They apply them to their businesses and they see the results, and then they go, oh, I want to know more.
That's it. It's the best way to position yourself is prove to someone you can get them a result, and the best way to prove it is to get them a result.
Wow, this is wonderful. I can't wait to hear more. Well, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. So, Ben, can you tell us a bit about some of the challenges that you faced, with your business as well as in life in general?
I think at the end of the day, you don't really get into the personal development industry without having a few challenges along the way. And I don't think my challenges are any better or worse than other people's. But definitely a long time ago, back in 1997, I actually found myself getting into quite a deep level of clinical depression. And I was depressed for around about 5.5 years. And I had been struggling throughout my life with different mental illnesses, actually, from a very young age. I had some major abuse happened when I was about 6 years of age, and it did have an impact on my mind. And at 1997, my mind sort of packed it all in, and it cracked and it broke and smashed in a few different pieces. And I ended up getting heavily medicated and had to see a whole bunch of psychiatrists and psychologists. And all the way through to 2002, I'd found myself really just struggling. I'd actually gone in and out of hospital for mental illness, and I just really couldn't see a way out, and it was a pretty dark time for me. I also was heavily in debt, and I was really overweight. I was well over 100 kilos, and it just wasn't an enjoyable experience. In fact, I owed about $137,000, and I was on the dole. I was earning,
Yeah.
I was earning like $247 a fortnight. Well, I wasn't really earning it. I was getting paid it by the government.
The government, yes.
Yeah, but so it was an interesting challenge, because you look out and you say, all right, I'm really depressed, and I'm ill, I'm unfit, I'm unemployed, and what the heck am I meant to do here? And I remember there's a bit of a tragedy that occurred in 2002 where a best friend of mine from school actually had made a choice, and I know it's not the nicest thing to say, but actually decided to end his life. And I remember hearing the news of it, and it just shocked me to the core, because I'm sitting here depressed, unemployed, doing nothing, and I thought to myself, well, I've got to change something. There's something that has to change, and that point really just snapped me.
So that was the turning point, the death of your friend.
Yeah, I think it really was. I don't share it with many people, but obviously now I'm sharing it on your show, so I'm sharing it with everyone. But for me, that was really the thing, and that had an impact on me that decided that I wanted to find a different way. I wanted to find a way to get myself off the medication. I wanted to find a way to get my head back on straight. And I wanted to find a way to get out of debt, to drop the weight and move forward. And so in 2002, I just fully applied myself to learn as much as I could, because at the end of the day, what I know is that there are winners out there and there are learners, and that's, you just pick out what you want to be. You're either going to be a winner or a learner.
Yes.
But either way, life comes down to just three things: the attitude you bring, the effort you put in, and the skills you develop. That's it. So I learned that being successful is not for the talented, lucky few. You're not born with it. You have to put in the effort. You've got to put in the effort, have the attitude, and watch shows like this, and learn things, and realize that any skill on the planet can be learned by anybody. And so I started to meditate, and I started to learn business, and I started to learn marketing, and just everything I could, presenting skills, and turn my life around. And in 2006, I left a job that I had in recruitment and began the journey of wanting to help people. And so deep down, my real desire is to make sure that no one makes the same life choice as that friend of mine from school, because I think life is a beautiful experience. And I think people really can have a great time. And so I like to think that every time we help somebody, we get them on a journey of doing what they love. And when people are doing what they love, they don't make those kind of life decisions. And so for me, the biggest challenge was really my own mindset. So
how did you have that shift, for your own mindset? How did that happen?
Yeah, I think there's a personal development gentleman that used to get around. His name was Jim Rohn. I think a lot of people have probably heard of Jim Rohn. He's got this saying, goes, disgust is one of the best emotions a human being can experience. And I think, in answer to your question, I just got disgusted with myself. I just got totally disgusted with my financial situation, with my employment situation. And as a result, that disgust really created an internal drive to just change what was going on. I think my friend triggered it, but a disgust in myself really followed that through. So people say that you should get rid of negative emotions, but I think negative is normal. You know?
I think we need to have that balance as well. We need the negative,
I think sometimes we need negative to get us to do things. I think that's kind of one of the beautiful things about it. So I know a lot of people think that life should be all positive, but I just think negative is normal. And so, in answer to your question, how did I create that snapping point? It was through a huge amount of negative emotion and disgust in my own situation, and wanting to change it. And I did. And as I said, I went through the journey and I pulled myself out of debt and began coaching in 2006, started helping a whole bunch of people, and then...
So let's sorry to interrupt, but let's go a few steps back. So how did you get yourself out of debt? What was the practical, or like step-by-step process that you took? Because there's a lot of people that will be watching and that might be in debt as well. So what did they do? Did they start saving? Did they get an extra job?
Yeah, that's what do they do to get out of debt? Here's the thing, back then I wish I knew, because I got a job in recruitment. I thought that would do it. I begged and pleaded for people to lend me money and they didn't, and so I tried everything except for the one thing that actually creates the money in your life, and that is to provide value.
Yes.
So if anyone watching wants to get out of debt, there is only one solution: provide value to the market. And the one thing that people value more than anything else is having their problem solved. So the fastest way a human being can ever get out of debt is to stop crying and complaining and moaning about it, get the right attitude, put in some effort, develop some skills, and go and solve some people's problems. And while they're solving those problems, exchange value in the form of money. And that is the only way to do it. I often say to people, the quickest way out of your debt is to sell your way out of it. And what I mean by sell, when I hear the word sell, I think of the word healing. To me, selling is healing, because when I sell someone something, it improves the quality of their life. And so every time you make a sale, you're improving someone's life. So every time you sell something, you're healing. So the quickest way out of debt is start healing some people and exchanging value. And there is no faster way of doing it. It's not about getting multiple jobs. My advice is forget that. If that's the way, if that's the way people think, it is one of the ways, but it wouldn't be the one that I would recommend people. I think. Yeah. You interview so many people on this show, and they're all successful. You're successful. You would understand and appreciate fully that. You just went out to provide value.
Exactly.
You've got this show here. You're helping people, so you did this by creating value, and I think that's the key. If you want to get out of debt, provide some value.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. We'll take a short break, and after that, we will talk about a business partnership and Ben's self-growth. Welcome back. My name is Nkandu Beltz, and with me I have Benjamin Harvey from Authentic Education. Welcome back, Ben.
Thank you.
So let's talk about business partnership. How did that come about, and how do you choose a business partner?
I think the most important thing for choosing a business partner is to have complementary skills, not competitive skills. So what a lot of people do is they say, you've got great sales skills, I've got great sales skills, let's get into business together. And all of a sudden we can't work out who's going to do the sales. Or you're really good at systems, I'm really good at systems, we should get into business together. So I think the fundamental principle that everyone can follow is that when you're in a partnership, you need to maximize your time, which means you need skills that complement each other. And so my business partner, Cham Tang, and I have definitely complementary skills. And he's incredibly good at systems, incredibly good at marketing, incredibly good at management of people, incredibly good at building things from a technical perspective. And my background is communication and inspiring people to take that next step and really clarifying what they're doing. So that is really a match made in heaven, and it's something that I'd recommend. Go for complementary skills.
Wonderful. And so you still have your vision, which is aligned, your
Absolutely.
vision and values aligned, but then different skill sets.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And what are your future plans regarding your personal growth?
Yeah, I think with personal growth, it's one of those things. I used to spend a lot of time mapping it out and planning it, and nowadays I just allow it. I think with the arrival of our beautiful baby girl, my wife Marquetta, and I have just received this incredible gift.
Oh, she's such a beautiful girl.
She's so
it's
cool.
like you're grooming her to be on stage already.
She's already been on stage a couple of times and actually spoken a few words up there as well.
Yeah.
So I think as life evolves, it's all about progress, really. I look to progress things, but not to live in the future. Yes. A lot of people have goals, which means they're always chasing something. So when they get up in the morning, they're not quite there yet. And there are really two types of people. People who want to achieve, they're always chasing something in the future, or people who want to be fulfilled. And they're just people who are happy with the now. And so I made a commitment to myself a long time ago to move into the fulfillment camp and out of the achievement camp, because I just found it's quite stressful always having another thing you've got to complete before you can be happy. Yeah. And so now, we've got our daughter, and so for me now it's just being a great father and every day trying to get better at that. And in business, it's always getting better at the way I can communicate something to someone so they can change even more rapidly or find their way more clearly. So it's just the little things, and progressing those things is what I think about when I think about self-growth.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you touched a bit about happiness. So what is the definition of happiness in the world of Benjamin J. Harvey?
There's so many definitions. One I heard that I really liked was that happiness is to have good feeling thoughts the majority of the time. And that used to be my favorite, but I read this one a long time ago that said happiness is love. I think that's the easiest way to work it out. And people are seeking happiness, but I think what they're really seeking is love. Yeah. And love is a bonding experience that takes place between people and things. And one of the best things I heard about happiness is that happiness is not perfected until it is shared. It was actually a quote by a gentleman called Sir Philip Sidney that he wrote in something known as the Aphorisms of Sir Philip Sidney. And I think people who are looking for happiness should stop that quest and start looking for things they love to bond with, whether it's an activity, an idea, a person, a place, a thing. And as they learn to bond more with the things they love and to do what they love, happiness will find them. Because happiness is not something that you look for, it's something that follows you around when you're in love with things.
Wow, that's so wonderful. And just wrapping up, what are some of the tips that you can give to people out there, or just some advice that you'd give to people who are probably giving up or wanting to start a business?
I think the first thing before you do anything is learn how to become your own best friend. That's step one. Just absolutely stop everything you're doing. Yeah. And I know it sounds silly, but take yourself on dates. Get to know yourself. Get to be friends with yourself. I think the hardest part of being successful is the person who's staring back from you in the mirror. So always go out of your way to become your own best friend. Once you've learned how to do that, or you're working towards that outcome, then give yourself permission to do what you love. I think it's really just those two key things. Be your own best friend and allow yourself to give yourself permission regardless of what anyone else is saying. Replace external approval for internal permission. And if people can do that, they're well on their way to being successful in life.
So Ben, you and Charm and your authentic education, you've won a number of awards. What are some of the awards that you've won?
I think the cool thing about winning a lot of the awards that we have won, they're actually won based on the results that our students are getting, which we're quite proud of. So we were quite grateful to have received the BRW Fast Starters Award back in 2013, which is an award given out to companies that have a rapid start in the first 3 years of business. And just over a year later, we were actually awarded the BRW Fast 100 Award.
Wow. As
the 38th fastest growing company in the whole of Australia. And I think we're the only personal development company in the history of BRW Awards that's ever achieved that. So we're pretty grateful for the whole experience, and to be honest, quite humbled by it, because we never really went into business to win awards, but the awards are a great acknowledgement of the impact we're making out there in Australia and throughout the world.
Well, that's a pretty remarkable achievement. Congratulations. So Ben, what are you reading and why?
Absolutely nothing is actually the shortest answer to that question. I am reading zero. And the reason being is I don't actually read. When I was growing up, I thought I was a very thorough reader, which meant that I read books incredibly slowly. So if you were to give me a book, I think maybe 12 months later I may have finished the first 2 chapters. So reading is not the thing for me. I heard a proverb once, and the proverb is this, that a conversation with a wise person is worth 30 days in the library. And once I heard that, I'd found my excuse for life. So reading, I don't really do it. I do listen to audiobooks from time to time, and I do have a solid audiobook collection. I'm much more a bigger fan of doing things like this, having conversations with people that know what they're doing, because they will save you so much time. You can sift through a book, and even after you've read one, you've still got to find the nuggets out of it. I'm not saying don't read, because being knowledgeable is important to being successful. What I am saying though is to supplement your reading, have conversations like this, inspired conversations with people that know what they're talking about. They will save you a bucket load of time, and they'll also save you a bucket load of money from all the mistakes you will not have to make. On top of books, I'm a big fan of getting advice from people, and one of the things I love is live events. I've always found that going to see people speak about what they know, if they really are an expert, is my favourite way of learning. And that's why we do that in our company. And I think that's one of the ways that I would inspire everybody watching this show, is to get out as much as possible and see people, listen to them, attend the programs, and just find out as much as you can in any way, shape or form. Don't just stick to reading. Broaden the way you educate yourself, and look for every different avenue possible to just fill your mind with gold. There's a saying by Benjamin Franklin. He says, empty your coffers into your mind and no thief will ever rob you, because an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. So however you learn, just learn, whether it's reading, watching videos, webinars, live events, just make sure you learn. That's the key thing.
So how can people find out more about you and the programs that you're running?
Yes, I think the best way that they can actually get in touch with us, we walk our talk, and so we're a big fan of giving people results in advance. So long before you ever do any form of actual business with us, we would prefer that you get to experience what it's like. So all over Australia, and certainly throughout the world, we provide a lot of free content for people of all walks of life, but mainly people who want to get their businesses started up in a very rapid way and learn from a 2-time BRW fast starter recipient, because we do know how to get things happening quickly. So one of the best ways they can find out more is just go to our website, authenticeducation.com.au, and on there they'll find a bunch of free events. We have one-day events on all different types of topics. We have evening classes. We cover topics from marketing to books to business to sales to presenting to mindset and everything in between. So if they just jump online, authenticeducation.com.au, and have a look around, there'll be plenty of free resources waiting for them to actually check out and learn some more information.
Ben, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. It really was an honour to be here. I was humbled when I got the request to be on your show, so thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Our guest was Benjamin J. Harvey from Authentic Education, and my name is Nkandu Beltz. See you next time.